Hey everyone, welcome to the Parts Girl podcast. I'm very excited to be interviewing Ryan Elsey with Eide Motors. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good.
And I'm super excited to have you on the podcast because you have been a longtime client of ours, and I just feel like we've gotten to know each other over the years. And so I'm excited to get your take on, what's going on with your dealerships because you're overseeing 6 stores.
Yep.
And yeah, so let's just dive in quickly, give a little background on, how you got to where you are and how long you've been with ID.
Okay. So I started with Eide Ford when I got out of tech school back in 2002 as a technician. I did that for about 12 years. I was a senior master Ford technician, went all the way up, and then current service manager was looking to retire, wanted to retrain his replacement, and I got selected to do that. So I was able to work with him for a year with some hands-on training, which is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I was a service manager for 5 years. And then when Eide started to expand and buy into other dealerships, once we had three, then I started overseeing parts and service of all those dealerships. So
Mhm.
had a strong service background, but needed some help on the parts side. So I was able to work with PartsEdge and learned a lot from that. So
Yeah. And so tell me about, because that happens a lot where, you do one job and then you move over into another.
yeah.
And I hear a lot where like technicians have gone into being service. And so how was that experience kind of being kind of behind the scenes and then being right in front of the,
Yeah, so instead of dealing with people, I would say I used to fix vehicles and now I have to fix people. In the role that I'm in now, it's a completely different mindset. So yeah, no, it's been great. Yeah, just seeing, I've always enjoyed being able to fix someone's vehicle and seeing the appreciation on their face, but now being able to train a technician to do that or coach a manager and able to do that and see the results and able to do it in 6 stores has been great. You can touch a lot more people
yeah,
that way. So it's
you can.
been a good ride.
And so with that, has there been any like, I guess, resources or anything that you've done with your, to improve that has helped you? I mean, other than Parts Edge, but like just to help, get train leaders into,
Yeah,
what you're
so
doing.
as far as the parts side, Parts Edge on the service side, I did do some. I'm in a 20 group through NADA, so there's 20 different service managers. We get together 3 times a year, talk about numbers, beat each other up over our numbers,
Yeah.
praise each other, things like that, and network that way. So if I have something that I'm seeing in my stores, more than likely I'm not the only one that's seeing it. So being able to reach out and talk to all these other managers that I know has been helpful.
Hmm.
I gained a lot there, and same way with Parts Edge. I mean, they work with a ton of parts departments, so any problem I have, if I reach out, usually I'm not the only one having it. So
Hmm.
not being afraid to reach out and ask for help, and then being able to help them too when they call is great. So.
Yeah. And I think there's such value in like community and getting together with people that are going through the same stuff you're going through. I think that's one of my goals this year with Parts Edge is to create like an ongoing community where we like come together. I don't know if it's once a month or
Yeah.
twice a month where we're just talking about like a 20 group kind of dynamic, but
Yep.
virtually because we can't
Yeah.
all be together. Because I just feel like there's such a need for that, especially these new parts managers that are coming in. And so have you guys been dealing with that with having some new parts managers or when you're
So
taking
not so
on?
much new parts manager. It seems like when you get a parts manager, they stay forever. They're pretty loyal, pretty dedicated. But as we brought new stores on, just teaching them the ID process. Obviously, there's a lot of training there. And then we do get together. I do a Zoom class once or twice a month with all the managers together. So all us parts managers will get together and meet for a half an hour. We actually have one this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I
Okay.
do the service managers at from 2:30 to 3 o'clock, so they can network together too. Just even though they know each other and they of each other, but to actually sit down and take time out of your day and spend a half an hour, just seeing how things are at the other dealerships was very
Yeah.
helpful. And then once a month at one of those meetings, I do it with Parts Edge, so we go over our performance reporting. So that is nice too to get the
Mhm.
feedback of, and because they probably get sick of hearing me, having somebody else moderate it is nice. So as
Yeah.
well. So that's one thing I do enjoy with Parts Edge. Yeah.
Yeah, having that moderation of like
Yeah.
these are your numbers and then that support. Yeah, I think that that's huge is like because we're constantly sending out all the numbers and I don't think enough take advantage of like the fact that we can have these meetings and really get everyone together
Yeah,
And
because I can
that's
look at
like
the same numbers all day, every day, and kind of almost get tunnel vision sometimes where when you have that other outside perspective, it helps a lot.
yeah, yeah. So tell me what you're seeing in your where so your all of your dealerships are kind of all centrally in one area or how far apart are
So
all
I
of them?
have three, hey, it's coming here, four, sorry. I have four of them that are in like Twin Cities. I call it Bismarck, Mandan, within like a 5 mile radius. And then we
Hmm.
do have two that are about 7 hours away over in Minnesota. So
Yeah.
for the most part, we're pretty well sent. Like I'm in those four all day, every day. But the other two, I get to maybe once a quarter. It's a lot more Zoom and phone calls for those two. So.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of fixed ops directors experience that. So, how do you feel like the ones that you are actually able to physically be at are, I don't want to say better, or like, how do you manage that? Because I know when you can physically be places, you see better results typically. So,
So when I'm in, yeah, the ones that are in town, I mean, I think I have a better feel for just the morale, like of the shop and of the parts department, things like that, because I can, walking through, you can see things like that where I'm relying on the managers in Minnesota to do, what I'm doing. But I do have, really strong managers out there that I have trained well, that know what to look for and what I'm looking for. So, and I talk to them at least 3, 4 times a day. So, I mean, it's
yes.
still. And it's still not the same as like most of the technicians in town here. I know what they're doing for the weekend. I know
Oh,
about their kids, their stories, things like that. I don't have that quite same feel there, but but
but
it.
you rely on your
Yep, but
other,
my managers do. I
yeah,
can ask them and hey, this guy's out today, or his kid's doing this. Oh, okay. Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, that's probably the biggest difference. So
Yeah, and I think that with technology, it's amazing what we can do and how well we can stay connected without physically being
yeah, I
there.
hate to say it, but that might be the one good thing that came out of COVID. I hated Zoom, hated all those, and now it's like I said, I do every week I get together with those managers out there in a Zoom call, and twice a month we have one with everybody, and there's yeah, it's amazing what you can do over just camera right from your office. So
Yeah. It propelled us so much further. We're
yeah,
able to network faster and like I say this all the time of like with being on LinkedIn and connecting through Zoom, just like random people you don't really know. When you
yeah,
do actually go to events and like get know them, you're past like that get to know stage. You're like already know
yeah,
them. Like you're just like
yeah.
it's
It's
just
like you've been friends for a long time already. Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. So going back to your stores, what are some of the challenges that you guys are experiencing right now? And just some ideas or things that you guys are doing to overcome some of the things you're
I just
experiencing.
getting creative. The tech shortage, obviously, I think everybody's kind of ran into that one. Trying to find technicians and trying to keep the ones that we have motivated and morale high. I mean, it is kind of a thankless job. So just trying to come up with unique pay plans or just little things we can do. And it's not always about pay. It's about just
Mhm.
showing appreciation for those guys that they're. It's kind of a thankless job, and I'm starting to see that in manufacturers are cutting times, but I have noticed that some of the warranty times now. I know Minnesota passed a law, and I believe Wisconsin did as well, that the manufacturer has to pay the same as book time that we're
Mhm.
charging customers. So that will help because I know they cut there a lot. But that, and then the whole EV thing, trying to get ready for the electric vehicles and trying to navigate through that. That's a whole other
Yeah.
set of problems, because that'll be a bunch of different tools and chargers, and it's a big investment in
Yeah.
just not sure if it's going to take off or not yet. So I don't know if technology is there. So
Yeah.
battling that. Those are probably our two biggest challenges right now. Yep.
Yeah, I think and what I'm hearing with EV is like it's kind of slowed a little bit and shifted, because I think everyone's kind of realizing that, the foundation isn't quite there and, you know, the pros against the cons, and we could probably make a whole podcast about all of
Right.
the EV
Yeah,
stuff.
they pushed it really hard. It seemed like there for a while, and
Yeah.
now you're right. They've kind of backed off a little bit because I think they noticed that we're not quite ready for the. Yep.
Hmm. Well, and the opportunity there is with, hybrids and how long they've been around
Yep.
and just all of that. So definitely some exciting things, I think. And what you guys, okay, so I have to ask, what's your perspective on AI? Because that's a hot topic right
Yeah,
now.
that's the other thing too. And I was, against it big time, but I have a 15-year-old son who was showing me some stuff. There's some good things to it too. There
Yeah.
is. I mean, you can. He showed me putting like a job ad together. I mean, I was looking for a, certified diesel technician, and we clicked one button, and within 30 seconds, it had a whole ad written. The scary part was there was a lot of things that I would have said in that ad, and it knew that just by, I don't know, by being on my computer or how it knew that, but yeah, it was a little bit scary, but
Yes.
think of the time saving. I didn't have to sit and type out this ad, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it would take. It was like that, but
It's incredible what
yeah.
it can do.
And I
Is
think you could get
yeah.
to. I know people when they call into like schedule. I was trying to think if there's ever a, like if you're calling into schedule, you don't really need to talk to a person to get an appointment for like a vehicle. I mean, I know sometimes if you have questions, but scheduling an oil change, I think we're not too far off to where you're just going to call in and you're not even going to know you're talking to a computer. You're going to
Oh,
be talking to an AI, and they're just going to, okay,
it's
Monday at
already
9:30, you're down. You need to rotate. You need fuel. I mean,
it's already
we're not too far
happening.
off from that happening, and
Yeah. I think Stella AI is doing some of that stuff where if you call, you're in the data, it's all integrated and like based on the
yeah, if you
VIN.
call any insurance companies or
Yeah.
medical fields, a lot of them, you're not talking to a person. It's pretty hard to get to a person. Like you almost have to ask for
Yes,
that nowadays. A lot of that is just automated where it points you towards it. So
it is. So, yeah, speaking about like automation and AI and all of the amazing things that it's all doing to kind of fill in some of the gaps of, I guess, communication and just kind of making it more efficient. Where do you feel like in your world, where are things missing? Like right now, like if you had the perfect world,
Mhm.
where would you want to like implement something, or would it be, or like it
So
would
like I
be
said, yeah,
nice
I
to
kind of
have
hit
it.
on it there a little bit, like the scheduling. I mean, I think if I could take that off my advisor's plates, I think that would be huge. So say I'm calling in to schedule an oil change, it could all be handled there. Updates, like say if I had your vehicle for 2 hours, if I could have a computer system just call out, hey, your vehicle is in the stall now, or we're running a half hour behind, so it's still outside. And then I think just the follow up too, you could do follow up phone calls where you could give it a list, give the computer a list of vehicles that were repaired the day before. Just call
Mhm.
back. Hey, how was your service yesterday? Everything go well? If it did, oh great, good deal. Remember the survey. Hit us on the survey. Or if there was issues, they could email myself or my service manager, or
Mhm.
get them in touch that way. But if you could automate all that, I mean, that would save a ton of our advisors' time.
That would, yeah.
That'd be
And
huge.
I think there's a lot of solutions out there. It's just finding which one's going to work best
Yep.
for your world. And well, I was talking about the other day, and it might be out there, because I don't know all the vendor partners out there, but there has to be some sort of solution. Like, when you get your car serviced and they show you all the things that they did, and then they show you the future of like, hey, you're at these miles, this is what to expect, basically
Yep.
the multi-point inspection. But like keeping that in like, I don't know how to like an app or like some sort of way that I could, as a consumer, I could go back and say,
Yep.
oh, what did they say? What do I need to plan for? And this is why I need to plan for this thing, because if I don't do it, it's going to cost this much. Like,
Yep.
there's got to be some sort of way that
Yeah,
we
I've
can.
thought of that too, and I would, I don't know I don't know enough about the technology side of
I
it,
don't
but I
either.
would think that I would love to have like an ID auto group app where exactly like what you said, where
Yeah.
Kaylee was in and, we did the oil change and it needed, these repairs. You could
Hmm.
look back at that and see, or it would tell you like a notification on your phone, you're due for an oil change.
Yeah. Start
Kaylee, you want to
planning.
schedule that, or, yeah,
Yeah.
hey, you just hit 25,000 miles. This is what you should have done. Yeah, I've always thought that because you have an app for everything nowadays. I mean, you can
Do.
order a pizza and watch it all the way through, I mean,
Yeah.
if we could, I don't know the technology, but if you could,
I
I
don't
think
know.
there's definitely a need for that.
I think there's a need. We have so many
Yeah.
things with like while the customer is there, or the client, or whatever term you want to
Yeah.
use, while we're there, but it's the after and the maintenance
Hmm.
of and then you can keep in touch. And I don't know. I think there's some solutions like, when you buy, like I have a Bronco, so I have the Ford app.
Yeah.
So it's like how, I don't really use the app that much. I can't
Right.
even look at my
And
service
that's got a
contract
little
of
bit,
what
but I
it
wish it
is.
would be more, yeah, more personalized to
Yeah,
your dealership, where you're at. I think would be the next step.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So we just created something if it's not already out there.
Yeah. There we go.
Because the
We
the
better get
first
a patent on that quick.
I know. Once you
Good.
start talking about it, if you're already talking about it, someone's already doing it. I think is
Probably,
the
yeah.
way.
You're right. At least we can say, hey, we talked about that. Remember?
Yeah, we talked about it. We think it's a great idea. Or someone listening is gonna be like, "Oh, we have that," or "That's
Yeah.
a great idea. I know how to make that
Yeah, if you
happen."
do, if somebody's listening that has it, give me a call. I'll definitely be interested.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
so needed. Okay, so I want to talk about, we talked a little bit about your parts, but I really wanted to dive deeper in like, when you were going into the transition of going from tech to service and then now overseeing, what were you looking for specifically? Because you didn't have a lot of parts background, and I think that happens with fixed ops
Mhm.
directors as they come from service. What problems were you having, or what were you looking to really solve when you were
So I guess the
yeah.
toughest, the biggest thing I remember learning is just obsolescent parts, like your overage stuff that wasn't selling. Wrapping my mind around that, how we ended up with those things, and getting a true report of what, because it seemed like what my parts managers were telling me were parts that were old. My controller in the accounting office would have a different number, and just getting that real number in between. So PartsEdge has a 13, without going too far in the weeds here, but they have a
That's
13
okay.
month no sale, no receipt report that they print out. That was really helpful because then that is a true dead part. We haven't sold it in 13 months or receipted one in.
Yep.
And once I got that report, that kind of bridged that gap between my parts managers and our controllers. So we finally agree on what a dead part actually is. So
Yeah.
cleaning up that old inventory, getting that out of there, and then catching it before it gets into that as well. There's another reporting that PartsEdge does, the 7 to 12 month report that I get, so I can start seeing those parts before they are dead parts or overage parts. So
And
that
planning
was the
that.
biggest thing is learning that, and then because otherwise, I mean, like gross percentage is the same as labor. You're selling parts instead of selling time, so a lot of that was the same. Managing people is a lot the same, but yeah,
Yeah.
just the inventory part of it where you get overage inventory where technicians, you don't get overage time. You only have so much time to sell, so you're only pushing so much through. So
Yeah. And I think that
I just remember that being the biggest thing.
that makes sense. There's a lot of oversight on like how valuable it is to understand the different areas of the inventory, I guess is the right way to
Yeah,
say it. And I think that what you had mentioned with the M&R and M&S is I constantly have those conversations of, you know, because I think the MGRs and the reports do it in the DMS, but you have to really dig to find that. And you're
right.
so
And they
right that,
don't. So we're on CDK, and they don't do a. So they have a separate like month no sale and a separate month no receipt. So yeah, you'd have to almost do the math to get them together. Where the report I get from PartsEdge has it all in one, all the part numbers, everything all together. So
yeah,
is it something I could do? Yeah, I could spend an hour in each store doing that, but or I could
why?
call PartsEdge and they can have it ready in 10 minutes. Or I don't even have to call them anymore. It's every month on the 10th they send it to me. So
Yeah.
doesn't get any easier than that. So
And then I love to going back to what you do with your teams is you're not just getting these numbers, you're actually like having meetings about the numbers and working
right.
with the teams because there's two sides of it.
Yeah, trying to catch trends so that before they get into the that dead report that we're seeing that there too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, we're in an exciting time with I think with the auto industry with just how fast we're moving. It's scary,
Yeah.
but I think with technology and things we can be even better with how we're doing things. So that's just my
I agree.
perspective.
No, it's fun. Never a dull moment, that's for sure. There's always something new.
Yeah, it's always
Yep.
it's always challenging, that's for
Yep.
sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And is there anything that you want to, add to wrap it up?
No, I think we kind of covered everything.
Yeah, covered all the exciting stuff. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again for coming on.
No problem.
Thank you for joining us. PartsEdge, the power tool for your parts department. We hope you're leaving feeling motivated, challenged, and inspired.